Ronald Frederick "Ron" Atkinson, commonly known as Big Ron, and Mr. Bojangles is an English former football player and manager. During the 1990s and early 2000s he was one of Britain's best-known football pundits. His idiosyncratic turn of phrase has led to his utterances becoming known as Big-Ronisms, or Ronglish. He spent his entire playing career at Oxford United, where he still holds the record as the club's highest appearance maker. As a manager he won the FA Cup with Manchester United in 1983 and 1985 and the Football League Cup with Sheffield Wednesday in 1991 and Aston Villa in 1994. Playing career: Atkinson, who was born in Liverpool but moved to Warwickshire shortly after his birth, did not achieve great heights in his playing career. He was originally signed by Aston Villa at the age of 17, but never played a first-team match for them. He still refers to then Villa coach Jimmy Hogan as his biggest influence. He was transferred to Oxford United in the summer of 1959 on a free transfer. There he played alongside his younger brother Graham Atkinson. He went on to make over 500 appearances in all competitions as a wing half for the club, earning, in his playing days, the nickname, the Tank, and scoring a total of 14 goals. He was United's captain through their rise from the Southern League to the Second Division, achieved in only 6 years from 1962 to 1968, an impressive achievement. He was the first ever footballer to captain a club from the Southern League through 3 divisions of the Football League. Managerial career: Kettering Town and Cambridge United. After retiring from playing, Atkinson became manager-player of non-league Kettering Town in 1971, aged only 32. His success there led to a move to the league with Cambridge United, going on to win the then 4th Division in 1977 and leaving them when they were on the verge of promotion to the 2nd Division. West Bromwich Albion. At the start of 1978, Atkinson moved to manage 1st Division West Bromwich Albion. He soon signed black player Brendan Batson from his former club, to play alongside the black pair of Laurie Cunningham and Cyril Regis. Never before had a team in the top division of English football simultaneously fielded 3 black players on a regular basis. Atkinson led West Bromwich Albion to 3rd place in the league in the season 1978 to Euro 79 and also to the UEFA Cup quarter-finals. On December 30, 1978 they achieved a famous 5-3 victory over Manchester United at Old Trafford. The club were second in the table at the time, only beaten off top spot from Liverpool by goal difference. They finished 4th in 1981, and shortly after this Atkinson became manager of Manchester United on the dismissal of Dave Sexton. Manchester United. Atkinson was seen as the man who could bring the spark to Manchester United that had been so sorely lacking under his predecessor. Dave Sexton had taken them to 2nd place in the league in 1980 but did not win a major trophy in his 4 years at the club. United had finished 8th in the season before Atkinson's appointment, and Atkinson had actually missed out of the chance of overseeing a UEFA Cup campaign by departing from Albion and taking over at United. In 1981 a Euro 82 United finished 3rd in the 1st Division, to qualify for the UEFA Cup, though for much of the season they were one of several teams who topped the table before a late surge from Liverpool saw Bob Paisley's team seal the title. Early in the season he had paid a national record £1.5 million for Bryan Robson from his old club West Bromwich Albion, and shortly afterwards also added midfielder Remy Moses and Arsenal striker Frank Stapleton to his ranks. He also gave a debut to promising young forward Norman Whiteside in April 1982, just before the player's 17th birthday. In 1982 a Euro 83 2 appearances at Wembley, one of which was an FA Cup victory against Brighton and Hove Albion, coupled with another 3rd-place finish in the league, fueled speculation that United were back in a big way. During the first half of the season, they had topped the league more than once but a storming run of form by Liverpool beginning before Christmas meant that the title headed for Anfield for the 2nd year running. 1982 a Euro 83 also saw the breakthrough of young Norman Whiteside as one of the best performing players in the 1st Division. Whiteside was also on the score sheet for the FA Cup final replay as United beat Brighton for a Euro 0 after drawing the first game to a Euro 2. In 1983 a Euro 84, Atkinson's side reached the semi-finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup, although their defence of the FA Cup ended at the first hurdle, which a shock to a Euro-0 defeat at 3rd Division Bournemouth. They finished 4th in the league, having topped the table at several stages once again, before injuries to key players counted against them and they dropped points. The end of the season saw the sale of key midfielder Ray Wilkins to AC Milan of Italy for £1.5 a million, while the duration of the season had seen the breakthrough of young striker Mark Hughes. Rather than plunge into the transfer market for a big name, Atkinson shifted 19-year-old striker Norman Whiteside into midfield to fill the gap left by Wilkins and allowed Hughes to form a partnership with the experienced Frank Stapleton. In 1984 a Euro 85, United again won the FA Cup. However, Atkinson and his team were denied the chance of another European Cup Winners' Cup campaign as the Heysel disaster at the European Cup final that year resulted in an indefinite ban on all English clubs in European competitions. In the 1985 Euro 86 they won their first 10 games of the league season to build a comfortable lead at the top of the table which lasted into the new year. However, their form tailed off badly and they again finished 4th, with Liverpool finishing the season as league champions for a record 16th time. With the ban on English clubs in European competitions continuing, there wasn't even the consolation of a UEFA Cup place. There was more disappointment for United's fans when the sale of Mark Hughes to Barcelona of Spain was announced at the end of the season. Atkinson had prepared for Hughes's departure in March 1986 by paying Nottingham Forest £570,000 for England striker Peter Davenport. Although Davenport did play some good games for United, he failed to achieve the success that Hughes had achieved and was not a popular figure among fans even when performing well. The 1986 close season saw speculation mount that Atkinson would be sacked by Manchester United and that Alex Ferguson would be recruited from Scottish side Aberdeen to become his successor, but the 1986 Euro 87 season began with Atkinson still at the helm. Atkinson had spent heavily at United, paying over £8 a million for new signings a Euro, which included Bryan Robson, Gordon Strachan and Jesper Olsen. He also brought through young talents such as Norman Whiteside, Mark Hughes and Paul McGrath. His 2 FA Cup wins had made him more successful than any manager at Manchester United since Matt Busby, but the pressure to build on the earlier successes was becoming more intense than ever. He had recouped more than £6 a million with a sale of highly rated players including Ray Wilkins and Mark Hughes. The 1986 Euro 87 season opened disastrously with 3 successive defeats, and despite a minor upturn in September and October which included a 5 Euro 1 home win over Southampton in the league, the pressure on Atkinson remained intense and the board finally ran out of patience on November 6, 1986 when he was dismissed as manager 2 days after a 4 Euro 1 exit at the hands of Southampton in the League Cup. They were also second from bottom in the First Division. Returned to West Bromwich Albion, he returned to West Brom in the autumn of 1987, by which time they had fallen into the Second Division and were battling against relegation to the Third Division. Survival was achieved, as Albion finished the 1987 Euro 88 season in 20th place, and they began the 1988 Euro 89 season well, looking like serious promotion contenders. But then he had a high-profile move to Athletic Madrid of Spain. Athletic Madrid. Atkinson's tenure at Athletic was quite a turbulent one and despite relative moderate success in terms of league position, a clash of personalities with the then club owner Jesus Gill led to Atkinson being sacked after just 3 months as manager. His right-hand man at West Bromwich Albion, Colin Addison, was appointed a Euro much to the dislike of Atkinson, who at the time in the English media went on record as saying Addison had stabbed him in the back. They never worked again as part of a team following the events of Athletic. His departure to Spain also had an adverse effect on West Bromwich Albion, whose promotion bid dramatically collapsed under new manager Brian Talbot. Sheffield Wednesday. He was manager of Sheffield Wednesday from February 1989 to June 1991. Although the club were relegated in 1990 to the Second Division, a year later in 1991 he got them promoted back to the First Division. They also won the League Cup by beating Manchester United 1-0 at Wembley. He offended some Sheffield Wednesday fans by saying on May 31, 1991 that he was staying as manager, but a week later left to become Aston Villa manager. Aston Villa, taking over from Jots Venglos, he led Aston Villa to second place in the inaugural FA Premier League season in 1992-93 and to victory in the League Cup in 1994, securing UEFA Cup campaigns for both of these successes. As of 2012, Atkinson's second place remains the highest ever finish by an English manager in the Premier League, subsequently equalled only by Kevin Keegan in 1995-96. Despite leading Villa to their first major success since their 1982 European Cup triumph, a mutual disliking between Villa chairman Doug Ellis and Ron that developed from 1992, inevitably resulted in him being sacked on November 10, 1994 following a 4-3 defeat at the hands of Wimbledon 3 days after Ellis had given Ron a vote of confidence in the media, stating that Atkinson was one of England's top 3 football managers. By this stage, an ageing Villa side that had so nearly won the league title 18 months earlier were now among the relegation battlers. He was replaced by Brian Little, who kept Villa in the top flight and built a new younger team. Coventry City, 3 months after being sacked by Villa, he became manager at Coventry City, replacing Phil Neal, who was purposely and acrimoniously replaced to make way for Atkinson. He took over in mid-February 1995, with the Sky Blues just above the Premier League relegation zone. His new team managed some good results, namely a 4-2 home win over local rivals Leicester City, a 3-2 away win over Liverpool and a point against a Blackburn Rovers side who ended the season as champions. With survival looking certain several games before the season ended, Atkinson was named Premier League Manager of the Month for March 1995. The penultimate game of the season brought another fine result when the Sky Blues travelled to North London and beat Tottenham Hotspur 3-1. Survival was finally confirmed as Atkinson guided the Sky Blues to a 16th place finish. In December 1995, Atkinson guided the Sky Blues to one of their best results of the 1990s, a 5-0 home win over defending champions Blackburn Rovers. During his spell as manager of Coventry, he brought in high-profile players including Gordon Strachan, Noel Whelan and Gary McAllister, but they continued to struggle in the Premier League, and by November 1996 he had become director of football, handing over managerial duties to former player and subsequent assistant boss Gordon Strachan. Returned to Sheffield Wednesday, in November 1997, he returned to Sheffield Wednesday following the sacking of David Pleat. Wednesday had made a poor start to the 1997-98 season, including a 7-2 loss at Blackburn and a 6-1 loss at Manchester United. Under Atkinson, Wednesday's form picked up immediately and they pulled well clear of relegation trouble, but he was not rewarded with a permanent contract. Nottingham Forest, his last managerial job came with Nottingham Forest, for the final 4 months of the 1998-99 season. This spell was not a success, and at his first home game against Arsenal he even climbed into the wrong dugout. He also managed to upset many Forest fans following an 8-1 defeat at home to Manchester United, when he stated in an interview after the game that his team had given the fans a 9-goal thriller. In a 2007 interview, Pierre van Hooijdonk, who was a Forest player at the time, said he sometimes got the impression the side was managed by Rowan Atkinson. In 1999, having resumed playing for Forest, Atkinson was quoted as saying that his biggest talent was upsetting his teammates. Atkinson took over as manager in mid-January 1999, and Forest's relegation was confirmed on April 24 with a 2-0 defeat at his old club Aston Villa. He announced his resignation as manager within hours of the final whistle, with effect from the final game of the league season on May 16. And said that he would be retiring from football management. Broadcasting career, TV work. Atkinson was already working as a pundit for ITV Sport, and after leaving management he continued in this role. For a number of years he covered most of the channel's live matches, sometimes as a studio guest, but more often as the ex-Football Insider member of a 2-man commentary team. His commentaries with Clive Tildesley provided the basis for the late 1990s and early 2000s ITV Champions League nights. He also fronted 2 series of Extra Time with Ron Atkinson for Central ITV, with Ron interviewing football personalities like Kevin Keegan, Terry Venables and Martin O'Neill. This exposure led to Ronglish becoming known to a wider audience. With his permanent suntan and taste for chunky, gaudy jewellery, he was often portrayed as a lovable buffoon in the UK media. Examples of Ronglish includes the adopted footballing phrase "early doors," a phrase that has been a subject of debate in football circles. It is credited as one of Atkinson's most famous and original pundit quips. Another famous line regularly heard during Ron's 1990s ITV football pundit work was exclaiming in disbelief at a miss, stating you would have put your mortgage on him scoring there. In 1997, he appeared as manager of Harchester United in Dream Team. In August 2013, Atkinson became a housemate on the 12th series of Celebrity Big Brother. He was the second housemate to be evicted on day 9 after receiving the fewest votes to save against Charlotte Crosby, Courtney Stodden, Lauren Harries and Louis Spence. Music. In 2002, Atkinson released a Christmas song, It's Christmas Let's Give Love a Try, but this failed to gain chart success. The following year, Ron Atkinson guested on an episode of TV chat show Room 101 and host Paul Merton played the video as outro to the show. Racism controversy. Ron Atkinson's media work came to an abrupt halt on April 21, 2004, when he was urged to resign from ITV by Brian Robson after he broadcast a racial remark live on air about the black Chelsea player Marcel Desailly. Believing the microphone to be switched off, he said, Desailly is what is known in some schools as a fucking lazy, thick nigger. Although transmission in the UK had finished, the microphone gaffe meant that his comment was broadcast to various countries in the Middle East. He also left his job as a columnist for The Guardian by mutual agreement as a result of the comment. Since the Desailly incident, Atkinson has claimed that the comment was an aberration and that he is not racist, citing in his defence that his West Bromwich Albion side was the first high-profile British club to have a significant number of black players. This, however, has not diminished the condemnation he has received from anti-racist groups and the public at large, who question whether Atkinson would have resigned had the comment not been accidentally broadcast, and note that it was not the first time he had used racist language. In an article published in the Sunday Times on September 19, 2004, Atkinson was referred to as racist Ron. However, Carlton Palmer, one of his players while he was manager at Sheffield Wednesday, defended his former boss by saying, "I'm black and I'm sitting here and I'm gonna stand up for Big Ron not because he's a friend of mine, I'm standing up for him because I know what he's like as a bloke. If we're going to deal with racism, then let's deal with a bigger picture of racism, not about a throwaway comment that wasn't meant in that manner." A BBC radio documentary about the 3 Degrees, repeated on May 16, 2004, was cancelled owing to Atkinson's central contributions. Later in 2004, the Daily Mirror reported how he sparked more hostility among fans by making derogatory remarks during a meeting over a meal about Chinese women. "I can't understand why there is such a population problem in China as they have the best contraception going. Chinese women are the ugliest in the world." Other TV work. It was reported Atkinson was being brought in to support Ife Noura at Swindon Town in December 2005, and Atkinson and the club appeared to confirm this. However, it later transpired that Atkinson's role was simply as part of a Sky One documentary about the club being filmed at the county ground. In late January 2006, Atkinson and Swindon Town parted company, with Swindon manager Noura citing interference as the main reason for stopping the documentary from going ahead. Just a week later, the cameras turned up at Peterborough United's ground, London Road, to begin filming for the documentary called Big Ron Manager. Peterborough were paid £100,000 to allow the filming to take place. Just 3 months later, on April 22, the club was thrown into turmoil as caretaker manager Steve Bleasdale resigned just 70 minutes before kick-off against Macclesfield Town, citing interference from a number of people in the running of first-team affairs. Atkinson spent the 2006 World Cup recording an amateur video blog and distributing it through the UK-based video sharing site, selfcast.com. He also provided commentary on the World Cup for the UK digital channel UK TVG2. In 2006, Atkinson took part in the BBC Two programme Excuse My French. Atkinson, comedian Marcus Brigstock and television presenter Esther Ranson were immersed in the French language by staying in a remote town in the Provence region, being compelled to adapt to the French lifestyle and speak the language. His assignment at the end of the course was to provide a match analysis on a football match in French for a French radio station. Being a complete beginner to the French language, he found the experience a considerable challenge, although he succeeded. The assignment was made more difficult by the fact that the match concerned was a dull goalless draw, leaving him with little to talk about. He briefly made a return to television, appearing as a pundit on Football Italia broadcast on Bravo. Since Serie A coverage has been shown on 5 and ESPN, however, Atkinson has not been invited as a pundit. Atkinson returned to the screen on August 16, 2009 on the Channel 4 reality show Celebrity Wife Swap. However, when questioned about his controversial comments by swapper Sanderson, he became very defensive and refused to discuss it. The whistle has gone. Full time. End of story. The subject is closed. Ron Atkinson brought out a warts-and-all autobiography upon the airing of Wife Swap a 60 Minutes with Ron Atkinson, in which he talks about his controversial comments and his football career. Radio. Atkinson is currently a pundit on William Hill's The Punt podcast and on Manchester United's channel MUTV. Director of Football, on January 23, 2007, Atkinson returned to Kettering Town, the club he had managed more than 30 years previously, as Director of Football. However, it was announced on April 19, 2007 that he had left the post at the Conference North club following his disapproval over the sacking of manager Maurice Maison. Managerial statistics. References. External links, Ron Atkinson management career stats at Soxabase, example of Big Ron's chalkboard. The Guardian, Sun talk page at the Sun website.